He ordered forward Field Marshal Vincent's entire First Army.
Is it gonna clutch? Oh, how's this gonna end? How is this gonna end? Ooh, suggestions by my member.
On the 24th of June, 1859. A Franco-Sardinian army of 130,000 men breaks camp and begins marching east. Commanded by Emperor Napoleon III of France and King Victor Emmanuel II of Piedmont, Sardinia, these allies are fighting the Austrian Empire to achieve Italian liberation. They believe their enemy is more than 20 kilometers away, regrouping behind the Mincio River, but they are wrong. The previous day, Austrian Emperor Franz Joseph ordered his 140,000 soldiers to cross the river and begin a counter-offensive. The two armies are on a collision course, with the fate of Italy at stake. The largest and bloodiest European battle in nearly half a century is about to begin.
I never heard about this. This
video is sponsored.
This is gonna be something else. Okay.
For countless generations, Italy has been divided.
This does give me Napoleonic, like epic history TV Napoleonic war vibes.
By internal strife and dominated by foreign powers. At the turn of the 19th century, however, the armies of Napoleon Bonaparte swept away the Austrian occupiers and unified the people of Italy for the first time since the fall of Rome. Although the collapse of the French Empire in 1814 resulted in the restoration of the old order, the desire for liberation was never fully extinguished.
Yep.
In the decades that followed, Italian nationalists struggled to free their lands from Austrian rule. As revolutions erupted across Europe in March of 1848, a new opportunity arose. When a popular uprising broke out in neighboring Lombardy, Piedmont, Sardinia, the most powerful of the Italian states, moved to support its brothers. Early successes and a swell of Italian national pride gave hope to the insurgents. But within 3 months, the uprisings were crushed by an Austrian army under the formidable Marshal Radetzky. In the wake of this defeat, King Charles Albert of Sardinia was forced to abdicate in favor of his ambitious son, Victor Emmanuel II. The new king, supported by his determined prime minister, Count Cavour, recognized that if Sardinia ever hoped to challenge Austria's powerful army, a strong ally would be needed. So in 1855, Victor Emmanuel elected to join France in the Crimean War, hoping to ingratiate himself with its new emperor, Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, nephew of the great Napoleon. By coincidence, Napoleon III had also fought on behalf of Italian liberation as a young exile when he and his older brother were living in Rome. The subsequent death of his brother while escaping a failed uprising reinforced a long-standing desire to aid Italian independence. During the tumultuous year of 1848, Louis Napoleon returned to France in the aftermath of King Louis Philippe's overthrow. On the strength of his famous name and natural charm, he was elected president and became Emperor of France 4 years later. Eager to support the Italians in their struggle against Austria and to expand his influence, Napoleon promised to fight with Sardinia if war broke out. But to ensure public support, it was important for the two allies not to appear as aggressors, so they sought to provoke Austria into making the first hostile move. In late April 1859, they succeeded. Emperor Franz Joseph overreacted to an unprompted Sardinian mobilization by issuing a draconian ultimatum to demobilize and authorizing his army to move into Piedmont. To his utter dismay, France promptly declared its support for Sardinia. War has begun. At the outbreak of hostilities, the French...
Yo, this is like nostalgic, bruh. Oh. this is nostalgic, bro. This is like Epic History TV nostalgic when I used to react to freaking Napoleonic Wars in chronological order a year ago, bruh. There's so much nostalgia, and it's only been a year. Yo, I forgot how fun reacting to that series was, bro. I don't think I reacted to any battles, like battle videos in a while. Like, I've done so many reactions lately, but like a battle video like this, early modern history type of battle, I don't think I reacted to that in a while, actually. Yeah, I'm like looking through maybe like a month ago. Golly, bruh.
Armies were scattered and stationed far from Piedmont. This left a window of opportunity in which Austria could have overwhelmed the greatly outnumbered Sardinian army if they acted quickly. On the 29th of April, Franz Joseph ordered Field Marshal July to do just that. But the Marshal was cautious and indecisive. He advanced sluggishly over the next 10 days, squandering this brief window of opportunity. By the time July committed to a full-scale offensive towards Sardinia's capital, the French army had already arrived. Unwilling to confront this combined force, July retreated across the Po, where he began setting up a defensive line. The Allies, now concentrated and holding a numerical superiority, formulated a daring plan to outflank July's position. On the 28th of May, Napoleon took 90,000 men and advanced rapidly north. To quickly bypass the Austrian defenses, he leveraged railways to transport tens of thousands of soldiers, something never before seen in warfare.
Wow.
Plagued by confusion and indecision, July hesitated in the face of this Allied advance. On June 2nd, he finally ordered a retreat behind the Ticino River to counter the approaching enemy. But his hope of slowing the Allies was shattered when an Austrian commander mistakenly abandoned a vital fortress that guarded a key river crossing. Seizing the opportunity, French forces raced across the deserted bridge and attacked the Austrians, entrenched in the town of Magenta. After many hours of hard fighting, French soldiers drove the defenders from their forward positions and then charged into the town itself. The Austrians resisted bravely, but eventually gave way, losing over 10,000 men, twice that of the French.
I swear, like, urban combat, bro. I was talking to my brother about this before, and I was like, you see the way how war was in the past? Like maybe if I was put there, like, okay, maybe if I'm not unlucky, like, you know, I could survive that. But bro, compare that to now. Yeah, nah. It's like it like nah, bruh. Nah, bruh. Like now it's like, bruh, that you have to be lucky to just freaking survive, because now we got shit like drones. Like drones just completely just made everything just terrible. Literally terrible. Like, I don't know. I do feel like there's gonna be a counter to drones in the future, but like right now drones just kind of made warfare. I don't know. Warfare has just become more and more just so just bro. Because back then the main killers in warfare was like artillery. Now, artillery has evolved so much so that it's like you know, that kind of just made things like But you still could have maybe, work your way out. But then when planes got invented, honestly, when planes got invented and bombers was a thing, yeah, that low-key kind of just was the writing on the wall. It's kind of like, yeah, no. That's where it's just like, yeah, bro, you gotta be lucky that your ass does not get bombed, right? But even then, it's like planes have a counter to them, right? You could, if you're in cover or some shit like that, or if you have good AA around the area, blah blah. It's like, yeah, those you don't have to worry about that, right? So then it was like, okay, but then we went from planes to drones, and I don't know, man. I've yet to see any counter for that. Oh my goodness. I still hear people fighting like hand-to-hand combat somehow, and like street to street fighting and whatnot, and it's like, how are they just not just getting freaking just bombed to smithereens, right? Don't let me get started on ballistic missiles too. Oh my goodness. I mean, yeah, bro, war has just become so that it's like people who unironically join armies for the sake of getting paid, because some people do that shit, bruh. Some people do that shit. It's like, why? Right? Like, back then, I understand, like, okay, yeah, you could work your way to like live, but now it's just like you're kind of just guaranteed to die. Like, honestly.
Unnerved, July began yet another retreat. The Allied armies entered Milan in triumph, to the cheering of enthusiastic crowds. However, intoxicated by success, the Allies failed to pursue the Austrians, who pulled back unharassed. When the Franco-Sardinian army was finally ready to resume, no one at headquarters was sure of the enemy's whereabouts. Although they lacked definitive information, the Allies believed that July was likely regrouping in the Quadrilateral, an area containing 4 powerful fortresses that would provide him with a strong defensive advantage. In spite of the risk, Napoleon ordered his men towards the region, hoping to deal a decisive blow. Indeed, the Austrians have retreated to the Quadrilateral, where a humiliated General July was summarily dismissed. Emperor Franz Joseph himself took command, and after briefly resting and reorganizing the army, ordered a surprise offensive.
Alright, let him cook!
Believing that the French are strung out crossing the Chiese River 30 kilometers
That's
away,
actually smart.
he planned to pin them down with a frontal assault and outflank them from the south before they could concentrate. But the French were far closer than Franz Joseph and his advisors suspected.
Oh.
Incredibly, both sides have neglected to perform even minimal reconnaissance, resulting in the two armies being separated by
no way
kilometers and oblivious to each other as darkness fell on the 23rd.
What? I've never heard of that before. That's mad. June 24, 1859.
Well before dawn on June 24th, the French army rose and prepared to continue their march towards the Mincio River. Napoleon has ordered the 1st and 2nd Corps to follow the steep ridgeline towards Solferino and Cavriana, respectively. 3rd and 4th Corps were to advance across the open plains towards Guidizzolo. The Sardinians planned to march through broken hilly terrain towards Pozzolengo. But when the sun rose and the mist cleared, the Allied armies were shocked to find that the hills were already occupied by the enemy. Sporadic fighting broke out as the leading French units encountered Austrian outposts. Word was quickly passed to Napoleon, who climbed a church tower at Castiglione around 7:30 a.m. to verify the accounts for himself. Napoleon
What do you do?
III, while not a military genius like his uncle, understood the importance of commanding the heights around Solferino. Any attack on either side would be easily outflanked and subjected to enfilading artillery fire. Furthermore, Solferino was the hinge point of the Austrian line, and a breakthrough there could split the enemy army and disrupt their coordination. Napoleon acted decisively, directing the 1st and 2nd Corps to attack Solferino, while the rest of the Allied army was to protect the flanks and pin down the enemy. In the north, the Sardinians, who have made little contribution to the campaign so far,
what are they doing?
were eager for a chance to prove themselves. But their advance was slow, with units strung out for miles. Although they possessed a significant numerical superiority, they failed to take advantage of it by concentrating their forces. Instead, when they encountered an Austrian corps commanded by the talented General Benedek, the Sardinians attacked piecemeal and were easily repulsed.
Come
It
on!
was not until mid-morning that they were able to capture portions of the critical San Martino hill, only to be driven out again by a ferocious Austrian counterattack. Isolated from the main battle, fighting in the north ground on like this for the rest of the day, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. On the southern flank, Controbert's 3rd Corps and Niel's 4th Corps had been marching since 2 a.m., completely unaware that 4 corps of the Austrian First Army lay in their path. Around 5 a.m., Niel encountered the leading units of this force at Medale, beating them back over several hours of intense combat. Undeterred by this encounter, and not yet realizing the full strength of the enemy, Niel decided to push on to Guidizzolo, stumbling into the bulk of the Austrian First Army, a force twice his size. The 4th Corps was now in a fight for its very survival, heroically driving back wave after wave of Austrian attacks, and against all odds, holding its ground. 3rd Corps, meanwhile, continued to move forward
It's really
slowly,
heating up.
its objective split between helping the increasingly desperate 4th Corps and guarding against a possible Austrian attack from Mantua.
Ooh, Mantua!
At the same time, fighting in the center had intensified after the early morning encounters. 1st Corps drove back the enemy from their initial line, and after hard fighting, were able to capture the hills in front of Solferino. What they then saw before them was a veritable fortress. Every hill was entrenched with dozens of cannons, while the town, convent, and walled cemetery were packed with thousands of soldiers.
It's always a
The task was made
cemetery.
even more difficult when General Mac
It's always a cemetery. I swear. They're always fighting at a cemetery. Every time I've done these reactions, that's what I always notice.
Mahon was unable to commit 2nd Corps to the attack. Not only was he concerned by enemy troops massing along his front, but moving towards Solferino would also widen a dangerously large gap to his south. Aware that such a rift would have threatened the cohesion of his line, Napoleon promptly ordered all available cavalry and artillery to close the gap. However, it would take more than an hour for these reinforcements to arrive. Even then, the line remained critically thin when MacMahon left to join the attack on Solferino. Had Franz Joseph seized the initiative and launched a full-scale attack to overwhelm the vulnerable French forces in the south, Austria could have achieved a much-needed victory. The Emperor, however, was young and inexperienced. In the chaos of an unexpected battle, he became cautious and did nothing. By contrast, General Schwarzenberg decided to mount an attack against the weak French line in front of him.
Take the initiative.
Without additional support, his effort was insufficient. The advance was soon checked by over 40 rifled cannon of 2nd Corps that decimated his forces. Eventually, French cavalry arrived and charged down his remaining men, who fled with heavy losses.
Damn!
With the Austrian attack repulsed and 3rd Corps finally arriving to support Niel, MacMahon was able to turn his full attention back to Solferino, where
I have no idea who the hell is gonna win. This battle seems so unclear right now. I'm not even
continued to
rooting for
rage.
anyone.
Balaguer's First Corps had pushed forward numerous times, only to be forced back by a hail of fire from the entrenched defenders.
Oh, wow.
Napoleon himself joined First Corps, bravely encouraging his men near the front line, even as several of his staff officers were seriously wounded around him.
Damn, okay.
Second Corps and its fearless...
Honestly, this is actually quite nice to see, Napoleon III, because most people just know Napoleon III as this horribly incompetent general who was kind of bad at warfare. But it's nice to see this. Because it shows that, no, he wasn't just horribly incompetent, like, at warfare completely. Like, sometimes he knew, like, what he was doing, you know what I mean? So, I like this. We get to see another side of Napoleon III that many don't really know.
Algerian warriors arrived around 11 a.m. to support the intense struggle for the well-defended ridge. Nevertheless, Austrian forces continued to hold their ground, pouring devastating volleys into the packed French ranks. With the French unable to make progress, Napoleon determined that reinforcements were needed to drive home the faltering attack. He had no choice but to commit the infantry of his Imperial Guard, who until now had been held in reserve.
How are these Imperial Guard like?
Around 1:30 p.m., several batteries of French artillery opened a devastating cannonade as nearly 40,000 soldiers surged onto the fortified heights.
Oh, how's this gonna end? How is this gonna end?
The Austrians resisted desperately as the French viciously clawed their way forward.
Oh my gosh!
In the face of this unrelenting onslaught, the defenders buckled and began to retreat.
Clutch.
Finally, the
Napoleon III.
convent, cemetery and village of Solferino fell into French hands. Around the same time, MacMahon's two divisions overran San Cassiano and Monte Fontana, solidifying control of the hard-won heights. With the Austrian centre on the verge of collapse, Franz Joseph resolved to organize a final counter-strike in the hope of salvaging the battle.
Hey, yo,
he ordered forward Field Marshal Vincent's entire First Army
is he gonna clutch?
A monumental effort to break through to Castiglione.
Is he...
Around 3:30 p.m., Austrian horsemen crashed into the French Guard cavalry and initially made considerable progress until General Soleil, commanding the Guard artillery, positioned 42 guns in a grand battery, whose overwhelming fire drove off the attackers.
Yeah.
To the south, Niel was also under severe pressure from this attack. But despite their fatigue from many hours of continuous combat, 4th Corps was able to withstand the latest assault.
Holy clutch, Neil!
French defense in the south. The Austrian First Army remained a formidable force, its soldiers still eager to fight. But Marshal Vincent was unduly discouraged by the failure of the initial assault and ordered his army to retreat.
Okay.
Austrian General Benedek's successful stand in the north was not enough to counteract the collapse of the center and the retreat of Wimpfen. Franz Joseph was finally convinced that defeat was inevitable. At 5 p.m., the distraught emperor ordered a full retreat. As the beaten Austrians were pulling back, a violent storm rolled over the battlefield, unleashing a torrent of rain. Soldiers on both sides were drenched and exhausted after 12 hours of combat in the blistering heat. Fighting slowly died off.
It's absolutely insane to think about, but these guys are fighting. Like, when you're doing something, bro, time just goes by fast. I'm talking like doing something that you either like or doing something where you're just so in the damn moment, you're not even looking at the time, bro. So this shit was 12 hours, bro, but for a lot of these men who were able to survive that, it doesn't feel like 12 hours. Probably felt like it just began, right? Because, they don't have phones. They don't have, some of them probably have watches and whatnot, but not all of them. So, they probably were just fighting and just fighting and fighting and fighting and just shit, man. That 12 hours just goes by so damn quick, man. Like, so, but that's just something that I just thought I should point out. Like, we hear like, oh yeah, they were fighting for 12 hours. Like, don't get me wrong, like that's long as shit, bro. Half a day, no, yeah, like definitely long as shit. But to them, don't feel long. It just feel like they've just been fighting.
Across the blood-stained landscape, with the Allied armies unable to launch an effective pursuit against their fleeing enemy. Napoleon III had achieved a great victory, but was deeply shaken by the heavy cost. The French...
Yeah, bro, the freaking... Like, he won, but whoo! Like, the Austrians weren't crippled.
French have lost nearly 1,700 killed and 9,000 wounded. The Sardinians over 5,500 as a result of their repeated unsuccessful attacks. However, the Austrians have incurred far greater losses, with 22,000 men killed, wounded,
oh my lord!
While the Austrian army remained a significant force on paper, and Prussia was mobilizing to assist them, the morale of the soldiers and high command was broken. Franz Joseph had had enough. Within days of the battle, he agreed to a ceasefire, followed quickly by Napoleon's surprisingly lenient peace terms. Lombardy was awarded to France, who then ceded it to Piedmont, Sardinia. France, in turn, was granted Nice and Savoy. Austria temporarily retained control of the Venetian provinces.
Oh, wow. So that's how France got that. Oh, okay.
Its domination of the region was over. Within a year of the Battle of Solferino, most of Italy was annexed to Victor Emmanuel's kingdom.
Yeah.
On March 17, 1861, the Kingdom of Italy was officially proclaimed. Napoleon III had achieved his greatest military success and accomplished his long-standing desire to see an independent Italy. Ironically,
wow, I never knew that battle. What? This is the fact that I'm now learning about this is insane.
His weakening of Austria as a result of this victory would ultimately allow Prussia to rise as the greatest power in Europe, leading to his own downfall in 1870.
The irony.
The disastrous Franco-Prussian War.
The irony.
If you've made it this far into
the irony, holy shit, bro, the butterfly effect of that battle. So you're saying, right, had Italy won, well, they won, but had the Austrians won, that Napoleon III would have stayed in power? We would have not seen a powerful Prussia? That's mad to think about. That did, holy shit. I still can't believe I'm now learning about this battle. I feel ashamed of myself that I didn't know about this battle until now. But anyways, man, this was a suggestion by my channel member. Like I said, if you guys have a bunch of suggestions for me, if you love watching my videos, you binge watch my videos, man, check out my channel membership. If you are new, okay, you have any videos that you would love to see my reaction to, I would love to watch, comment it in the comments below, okay? Comment it in the comments below. Eventually I'll do it. Yeah. Check out my channel membership, 99 cents a month, bruh. Priority reply to comments. You have an update on what's going on with me. Your suggestions are done quicker, like I said. Early access to uploads. Yeah. All I can say is just check out my other stuff on my channel. Thank you for watching. And goodbye.